And so here again, your friendly local constitutional coop from California. And with the recapitulation of earlier videos that I've been talking about here, because it's a major big deal today, as if a lot of you don't know, especially parents with school children. Education. There isn't any in the mandatory public quote unquote education system. Ain't. That's what has to change. Nothing there. There wasn't anything there. And when I went to school all those decades ago, it was better in a lot of ways. And I went to school outside of Washington, D.C., by the way. We didn't have all this transgender LBGTQ crap out there on the table like we do now. And it's all 14th Amendment. And when you understand that that 14th Amendment not only doesn't exist, but it's intimately connected with federal, regional, martial law rules, and that's the reason Trump thinks he can issue executive orders pursuant to birthright citizenship, because they're totally subject to the commander in chief of the armed forces, and he can do what he damn well pleases. But that's the exact opposite of the original intent of those racist framers who ordained and established this Constitution to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, and we want it back. Education is how that happens, and great news for you if you're parents, because now with my documents, you can send me an email, unincourt@gmail.com, and your children and your posterity can learn from these documents what the truth really is. And I say it with attitude and with authority. And that's what we need to get out there. And that's a priceless gift to your family to keep them going and keep them from getting into situations that you may be dealing with now, with foreclosures or evictions or you name it. And everything has to do with money, quote unquote, undefined dollars. You'll learn more about that too. Send me an email, unincourt@gmail.com. But that's priceless. And in this regard, by the way, I'm looking for some sponsorship here with a little bit of investment capital so I can do some really good quality history videos here. And I can do it a cappella off the top of my head with no notes. That's an astounding gift, a divine gift that somehow I got. I don't know how. And a good way to understand that, by the way, is to look at a really good movie by Ron Howard called A Beautiful Mind, M-I-N-D, about John Nash, a mathematician in the 1950s, who had a gift that was so great. He was doing things then that people couldn't understand what he was doing, how he was doing it. And I think they're still in use in mathematics today. And wouldn't you know, he and I both shared some time for what it may be worth growing up in Bluefield, West by Gosh, Virginia, in different areas, mind you. But you look at this film, this is what I have the gift to do. It's just astounding. And I've devoted my entire life to it. And that includes, by the way, I'm the last of the line here. They're going to love that in my hometown of Washington, D.C. But I realized for a variety of reasons earlier on that weren't directly related to what I'm doing now. But I realized my work was more important. And if I couldn't have a family in place, then number one, I had no business having one. And that's the course that I've planned and I've kept. And it has been painful at times, but I know it's the right thing to do. By the way, a good video on this subject is a video called John Adams. That's not about his time as president. He was kind of mediocre president, but when he was in France with Franklin and Jefferson in the 1770s, trying to get money from the French to help us break away from England. And the big deal there was, and I haven't got the book, it was a book of letters between he and his wife Abigail Adams, because they were separated for several months, I think it was. And one of his young children died during the course of that separation. And I don't know if Abigail realized what he was doing was more important than family. And that's saying something. And we'll talk more about that. That's another very interesting story later. But that said, to educate your children and your posterity. And now, among other things, if and when they get called to jury duty, they're going to know the power they have to rule on the facts and the law and be prepared to do it when people like you and I come along with jury instructions and unopposed motions and habeas corpus, they're going to know what to do. And our chances of getting a acquittal go from less than 1% to, I'm willing to bet you, over 90% with educated jurors that know the American history, know what the law is, and know it when they see it. And we can instruct them basically to bring in a directed verdict of not guilty for us, not like the directed verdict of guilt you get today in the just us system. That's another big change that has to happen. But it's all exciting. It's all worthwhile to do that. And if I can get a little help here, the good news is that all of you will learn, all these official actors, quote unquote, official actors, especially black robe bastards and attorneys and others like that, if you name it, are committing acts of treason each and every time out when we show up in the courtroom because somehow they think they can confuse us with Chase Bank, IBM, or Microsoft, like we're corporate entities. That's all they recognize. No creator endowed inalienable rights anywhere in sight. This is an agnostic uh, system that they've set up here. They've done away with God, done away with creator endowed rights and everything. And they don't want to let us out from under, but we have the power to do it. You're going to learn all about that. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. It's just amazing. It really is. I didn't get it right away either. It took me a little while, but once I did, I sat back and said, wow, why didn't I hear this when I was in high school? 10th grade U.S. history and 9th grade, well, I can't think right now, but the two courses, American history, and none of it ever came up. And literally, black and white in the system, because all I ever heard about Andrew Johnson was he was our worst president. He got impeached. If I had learned in 10th grade what he got impeached for, my life would have been different. He's at the top of the list, number one with presidents, the best one we've ever had. You'll learn all about that. Send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. And once I can get you to start to see the light of day here, it's astounding. And it is instinctively what you think it should be. And I'm going to teach you why it's true, and you can teach your children and your posterity a priceless gift. So that said, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. We can take it from there, and we can set up a Zoom appearance, if you want to get a hold of me in terms of supporting me, with some financing and see how that works out. But that would be a big help too at this point. But I've got it, I flaunt it, and Trump knows it right now, Bondi knows it, and most importantly, those current Supreme Court justices know it. And they know that court has been complicit up until about the last 5 years or so in not doing its job. And once they admit that to the American people and tell the American people what they're doing and why, the approval rating is going to shoot through the roof there. That's what needs to happen. And we can help make that happen, working together. That's what's exciting here. There's a real chance to do this. Wow, it's just amazing. It really is. But to learn more, send me an email, youwinnincourt@gmail.com. Remember to subscribe, tell your friends, like the videos, get the word out. The sooner we take action, the quicker we get these bastards off our back. Thank you.